everybody, Ramey here, and today we're going to talk about how I create these videos. The one you're looking at. How am I creating this? What do I use? You know, that's a big question I'm asked all the time by people on my videos is, what hardware and software are you using? Can you help us? Okay, so I'm going to tell you everything that I use today. All right, so I use several different pieces of hardware and several different pieces of software. There's no like right answer, like this is what you should use all the time, because it kind of depends what I'm doing and what my setup's like and what I'm trying to accomplish. So you're going to have to kind of figure that out. But I'm going to tell you all the stuff that I am using, and then you can go through and kind of pick and, you know, what you think will work for you for whatever topic you have to create a video on. All right. So let's talk about like the external hardware, and then let's talk about software. So the first most important thing that you need if you're trying to like, especially if you're doing like video capture, is you need a good quality high-end computer that can actually work with video. Because I have a really high-end computer, and even when I'm creating like editing like a long video especially, I run into errors, like it just takes a really long time to compress it. So the first thing you need is you need some kind of high-end computer. You can use a Mac, you can use a PC, doesn't matter, but you just need a pretty high-end computer. I use an Alienware, and it compresses video, works with multimedia and that kind of stuff really well. But high-end Macs work great too. All right, so the first thing you need is your computer. Next thing that I think about hardware-wise, if I'm going to record, is I need some kind of camera. If I'm recording myself and putting myself, I need a camera. So I have 3 different cameras that I use. I have a webcam. I use a Logitech 1080p webcam. They're like 50 bucks, work great. I have a video camera, an actual video camera that I will use sometimes. And then I have an actual SLR camera that I will use sometimes. And I kind of use them all depending on what I'm doing. Like I use my webcam a lot. Like right now in this video, I'm simply using my webcam. But sometimes, like if I'm not recording in front of my computer, I'll use one of my other cameras, either the SLR or the video, or sometimes I'll use both because I want a backup. So I have 3 different cameras that I like to use. Okay, microphone. I have 2 different mics that I use. I have a Yeti mic, Blue Yeti mic. They're like $100. I use that for most of my videos. That's what I'm using right now. But when I'm using one of my webcams, I have a nice Rode mic that attaches to the camera. They're also around like $100. But there are plenty of different good quality mics that you can get to attach to your cameras. But you need some kind of mic. You need an external camera. You need an external mic. You can't use your webcam on your computer. You can't use the mic. Those are going to be terrible quality. You will notice a big significant difference when you switch out of it. All right, so that's kind of some of the hardware. Next things I use is lighting. I have tons of lights everywhere. I use the bright daylight lights whenever I'm on myself. Like right now, my setup that I'm using currently in this video that I'm recording, I'm using 5 lights. 5. That's 3 lights on me from different angles. And then I have 2 lights in my background, on my background, to make it so that it's all bright and there's no shadows or anything like that. But I can create a setup with just 1 light, or I can create a good setup with 3 lights. It's all kind of like your placement in your room and what your room is going to be spaced like. But you've got to have lighting. Next thing I use. In this video in particular, I'm using a green screen. You don't always have to use a green screen, but you always have to think about your background. So when I like cut myself out of a video to like make a tutorial, I'm using a green screen. Okay, so that's kind of like my hardware that I use. That's everything. That's my basic hardware. I've got some kind of form of camera, some form of mic. I've got lighting, and I've got a background, which for this video is my green screen. All right, then I need to think about what software am I really going to use. So like a lot of people want to know about like creating a tutorial, like a software tutorial where like I'm on the screen and the software is behind me. All right. There are a few different pieces of software that I use to record my screen. You can use Snagit or Camtasia to record your screen. They both record your screen. I can also use Captivate or Articulate. I'll switch between any of those pieces of software. And then there's a free piece of software I sometimes use. I don't really use this to capture my screen, but you could. I use this more for streaming, is OBS. And that's free. And you can use that to capture your screen as well. So I just gave you a bunch of options. You can use Camtasia to capture your screen, Captivate, Articulate, OBS, or Snagit. Those are all pieces of software I can use to capture my screen. So usually when I'm making a tutorial, I like to capture my screen using Camtasia. I think it just does a good job of capturing my screen. And then I usually record my video and audio separately and then pull them all into whatever video editing program I am using at the time. Video editing programs that I will use for a tutorial, I might use Captivate or Articulate. If I'm just doing like a regular YouTube tutorial, I'm probably going to use Camtasia, or I'm going to use Adobe Premiere. Those are the two video editing programs I'm going to use depending on the video I'm making that day, Camtasia and Premiere. If I was on the Mac, I would be using Final Cut. But those are the pieces of software that I use. And then the rest of it is really editing it together and, you know, making it, pulling everything in. If you're using Camtasia or you're using Premiere or Final Cut, you pull yourself in your video and you have to cut yourself out of the green screen. It's pretty easy to do, but you cut yourself out of the green screen. I pull my sound file in and I link my sound file up to me talking because they're separate files. And then it goes along with it to the tutorial. So I guess you want to know, how do I do it? What am I doing? I'm using all that stuff. It's a lot. It really is. I'm not just like, I mean, I do have it set up like a studio now, so I can kind of sit down and start recording. But it's not necessarily that easy. I always have to check things and do things. So, you know, is it really simple to sit down and create these videos? It kind of is. It's kind of easy to create a low quality one, but when you want it to start getting better and better, like I always am looking to improve mine. It's like, okay, I have to have lighting. I have to have a good mic. I have to have a good camera. I have to have the right software. I have to have a good computer. I have to have the right background. I think a lot of people think it's just, what software do I need? Like, how do I do this? It's not like that. There's really a lot that goes into it. I could create you know, several college courses on how to create videos, because there's so many different types of pieces of software, different types of hardware you have to try, different things you have to try out to figure it out. So how am I doing this? That's how I'm doing it. I'm using all those pieces of software, all those pieces of hardware to make this. I hope that helps answer your questions. And I hope that you can go in and start to really play around and play with some of this stuff. And I have created some tutorials on how to do this, like step by step, and maybe I'll start to do some of that, like show you, like, this is how I use Camtasia and this is how I use Premiere, and these are my exact lighting positions. But again, like, lighting positions and what software I use really depends on like what kind of content am I doing for the day, because it changes. You know, if I'm streaming something, I might use OBS, whereas if I'm doing a software tutorial that's going to be on YouTube, I might use Camtasia, but I might edit it all in Premiere. So it all just depends. I hope that helps. Thank you very much.